Now, this session is exclusively for clinical research and importance of statistical and SAS programming. Oh, I think all of you able to see on my computer screen also. Now, this is just like as a title and heading of this session. And now, generally, the 6 to 6:10 is for introduction and the importance of this session. And the actual session starts by 6:10. I mean, now it's 6:15 to 7:30. Question and answer session is 7:30 to 7:45. That is the question and answer session. So before going to start, I would like to invite Sudhakar Vardhanapu garu to give a few words about this importance of corporate communication. If you want, you can activate your camera also, sir. For better purpose, mute your audio all the time. Use a headset and use hand ask your questions, and end of the presentation, we are going to clarify all those questions.
Can you please ensure I switch on the audio video, sir?
You can do that. You can do that.
It says you cannot start video because the host has stopped it, sir.
Okay, now you can do that.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Yeah. Shall I start, sir?
Sure.
Yeah. So, good evening, everyone. Those of you who are from India, I mean, now it's your office time and everything must be over. And those from abroad, your timings must be different. Thank you so much for joining this valuable session. First of all, I'd like to introduce Shri Venkati Kurti, or rather we call him Professor Venkati Kurti. He is an American citizen. He has been in US for more than 20 years. And he has worked in big pharma companies like Pfizer, Novartis, and now he is working for Bayer. He has experience in financial, insurance, manufacturing, and now he is into clinical research as well. He has 10 years of teaching experience in statistics, and he is passionate about statistical application service programming. Now, in this session, he is going to give you an overview and awareness about the importance of SAS programming in clinical research, because that is where all the big pharmaceutical companies, ensures that the primary stakeholder, who is the citizen, who is the individual regarding whom this entire research is based on. And now I would like to ensure that, clinical research is important, but then we also need to understand what is the importance of corporate communication, especially for the clinical researchers. See, we'll be doing clinical research, but then we also need to understand that we need to present papers, we need to make presentations, and we need to ensure that our curriculum vitae or the biodata is tuned properly to ensure that to leverage what experience and what knowledge we have regarding the SAS programming for clinical researchers. So today, can we go to the next slide, sir? So today, the engagement objectives are regarding the communication, which is the building blocks of business. So without communication, there can be no business. See, ultimately, if there is a clarity in communication, suppose something is given to the clinical researcher to do something. So they have to ensure that they have to collate some information and come out with a solution. So if they do not understand that particular communication properly, they will not be able to collate the information and come out with proper data. Data cannot be brought together to ensure better decision making. And this is important for effective writing, because in this process, you need to write your reports, effective report writing. Then you need to make a compelling presentation. And not only presentation, it also entails certain amount of public speaking, right? So therefore, we need to understand that. And we also need to understand the use of body language in communication. Hey, just hang on. See, this is only for a couple of minutes. This only for I'll take another 2 minutes of your time. And then Mr. Ikurti will go ahead with his regular program regarding the clinical research, the usage of SAS programming in clinical research. Okay. Now the next slide, sir. Now again, in terms of engagement of the 7 C's of communication, when we communicate, we need to have clarity, we need to have conciseness, correctness, completeness, consideration. It must be concrete and courteous. Okay. So without this, we cannot have good communication. And then we'll go in for the guidelines for effective business communication. And we have to prepare a balanced resume. And again, we also need to understand how to conduct negotiations, because we will be doing the research. See, not only that, because you may be sent by your organization to negotiate regarding the terms and conditions of your contract for doing a clinical research in a particular company. We are not talking about a regular negotiation. We are talking about you as a stakeholder for the company. You will be negotiating for regarding the project of clinical research. So next slide, sir. Please understand, no matter your job, whatever job you have in life, your success will be determined by 5% of you, only 5% of academic credentials, 15% by your professional experience, and 80% by your communication skills. Here in clinical research, the communication skills mean understanding the communication received by you, the directions received by your lead, and doing it appropriately and correctly. Being concise, being correct. Okay? Yeah, next slide, sir. And most of the time, our communication is confused with conversation. See, communication, the conversation is casual, but communication has a purpose. So both are distinct. This is said by Dr. Abdul Kalam. I mean, nonetheless, so next, sir. So in business communication, it ensures that leader is brought out of you. It helps in decision making. It helps to give profit to the company through our productivity. Next slide, sir. Yeah. So now we need to understand that business is profit oriented. See, why are we associating SAS program with clinical research? Because if you are able to do the correct data collation, correct data, allocation and the data, if you are able to consolidate and give a proper report, it will help in the decision making. And if the company gets profits, you are the one who will be benefited by rise, by appraisals and better salaries. So accordingly, the business organization depends on the aims, the objectives, vision and mission. Okay. So we need to understand that the mission for this clinical SAS program in clinical research is to ensure that you understand the importance of SAS programming in clinical research. Next, sir. Yeah. See, business communication is requirement in a professional environment. It requires a clarity of thought. It requires for interaction, for decision making, for evolving leadership, efficiency and effectiveness. So that's it. So friends, I want you to understand that this corporate communication, business communication are one and the same. Corporate means here, it is a communication with a purpose. So here, Dr. Ikkurthi, Professor Venkat Ikkurthi now will be handling the topic SAS programming in clinical research. Please listen to it carefully. Please understand. There is a question and answer session at the end. So note down all the doubts that you have, so that please ensure that without disturbing anybody, in the end, we have 15 minutes time for clarification of question and answers. So please be patient, take down your notes. And this, the reason why we have introduced this is a separate kind of, we'll be during this course, during the program, we will be also handling this corporate communication to ensure that you are become a better communicator. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Professor Venkat Ikkurthi garu. Please go ahead, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thanks very much for giving this importance of this communication. So our approach is like very, very simple logic here. Another meaning of real happiness is quality education. So education and quality education is totally different concepts here. See, 99% of we studied We want to get a job. We want to make our education is livelihood. So for that case, quality is the very, very important. Now, this is a little bit about my profile. Now, I'm working with a big company as a manager, clinical data integration here. Now, success and excuses do not talk together. If you want excuses, forget about success. If you want success, don't give any excuses. So education is the best friend. An educated person is respected everywhere. Education builds beauty and the youth. Similarly, here, ask. Ask means attitude, skills, and knowledge. Knowledge, you will get it from your college. Skills, you will get it some type of sessions like this. But attitude, you need to develop your own. Self-motivation, self-confidence, integrity, honesty, optimism, enthusiasm, cooperation, and commitment. These are all very, very important, particularly for these three are called as a triangle of success. So what we are going to discuss in this session is importance of change with the time. We need to change with the time. What is clinical research and drug development? Origin and history of clinical trials, different phases of clinical trials, importance of statistical methodology, statistical approach in clinical trials. What is exactly SAS programming? Importance of SAS programming in clinical research. Importance of SAS certifications. I know each topic we can talk like a couple of hours, but we are all discussing all these things in it 1.5 hour time. Is a little bit tough, but we will try to make it as much as we can do in this session. See, importance of change with the time. Everybody need to change with the time for sure. For example, when you see this example in 1998, 170,000 employees worked with Kodak. They sold 85% of world photo paper. In few years, digital photography drove them out of the market. Kodak went to bankruptcy and all his employees went on road. Why? Because similarly, when you see this HMT, Bajaj Chetak scooters, Dianora television, Murphy radio, Nokia phone, Rajdoot, and Ambassador, these are all one of the best products, but they are far from the market. The reason is they have not changed over the time. Because we need to change with our time, we change over the time. Otherwise, we are all in museums. That's the reason I'm encouraging people to think about future change over the time. Long ago, and now we are using like this. The world is changing so fast. Keep your eyes and ears open. Otherwise, you will fall behind. Be prepared to change over the time. Therefore, a person must change his business and his temperament over the time. Time to time upgrade your skills. Then only you will get a success. So whatever you are learning in college and you need to add a lot of stuff, you need to upgrade your skills. Then only you will get a success. If you are not going to upgrade, it's really tough. Now, what is exactly clinical research and drug development? Clinical research and drug development. Clinical trials are essential for the development of new form of treatments, groundbreaking medicines and medical devices, as well as researching in new ways to detect, diagnose diseases. Without the clinical trials, a proper evaluation of the benefit, risk profile of new drug is not possible. So if you want to use any drug, it's almost like a 10 to 15 years trials is going on, then only the drug comes to market. So without clinical trials, a proper evaluation of the benefit of risk profile of new drug is not possible, impossible. So we want to go with what is exactly clinical? A organized research study designed to investigate new method of preventing, detecting, and diagnosing or treating an illness or disease, such as cancer, something like that. See, organized research study. Study means what? Design. What type of study we need to design? There is a lot of statistical concepts are here. A lot of statistics is involving in this. We want to design a study. That study should be replication, randomization, local control. All belongs to like a statistics side. So clinical trials is like pharmacy knowledge, regulatory affairs, and statistics knowledge. Of course, computer programming is also required. See, this is like, that's the reason we put like a session mostly for like pharmacy and statistics students. Mostly, like other people are also joined, that should be fine. But whereas, see, if we want to design a study, how we want going to design the study, how we are collecting the data, how we are analyzing the data, how we are interpreting the data, and finally we want to come up with a decision. So a organized research on human being is intended to provide adequate information on the drug use as a therapeutic agent, on its safety and efficacy. We want to prove that, hey, that this drug is really safe, this drug is really effective. That type of further case, we need to conduct a clinical study. Generally, clinical research position in drug development is drug development, discovery research, formulation and development, clinical development. Most of the times we are like, clinical trials. As a statistical programmer, most of the times I am involving in this area, clinical development trials, and finally commercialization also. So evidence to provide efficacy and safety of human beings. A well-designed clinical study on a defined population can give meaningful results, positive or negative, about any therapeutic intervention. So that means defined population. A population means what? A set of characteristics have a set of population, set of individuals have a common characteristic. Is a human population, all are humans. Female population, all are female, something like that. So that is the population. A well-designed clinical study. That means well-designed. That means what type of design, what type of study? Is a crossover study, is a parallel study, is a randomized study, open study. So these are all statistical concepts for sure. But you need to link up with, particularly when you are studying in pharmacy, it's tough to enter into clinical trials side. When you are studying exclusively in statistics, that is also seems to be tough. So we want to know about multidisciplinary knowledge is required. Multidisciplinary knowledge. That means a statistical programmer familiar with the pharmaceutical knowledge, like what is metabolism, what is toxicology, little bit about basics. And at the same time, they should familiarize with little bit about like what is the correlation, what is regression, what is analysis of variance, something like that. So that means a pharmacy student must learn little bit about statistics. A statistics person must familiarize with like pharmaceutical knowledge or regulatory affairs. Then only the industry is looking for people with those type of knowledge, that means interdisciplinary knowledge is required here itself. Well-designed clinical study on a defined population can give meaningful results, positive or negative, about any therapeutic intervention. See, when is this clinical trials is started, origin and history of clinical trials? You won't believe that this has happened in almost like 18th century. That is, do you know that first ever clinical trial was conducted with the sailors on May 1747. James Lind and Scarvett is the first clinical trial in the history. So this is the way, they are conducting the trials in long time back, actually. Now, first clinical trial. See, now, it is 1750, placebo 1799, 1898, etc., using the random numbers in 1948. Now we are working with like phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, some multi-center trials, so and so, etc. Everything. First randomized therapeutic trial in 1948. Public agencies with the cooperative groups in 1950. In IRB guidelines comes with the 1966. Medical devices in 1760. So this is little bit about history of clinical trials. See, what exactly objectives of these clinical trials? To understand the drug development process and understanding the different phases of clinical trials, appropriate history behind regulations in clinical development process. Regulations, that means standards, we need to go with that. To understand the current regulations involved with the clinical research process. That we are going to discuss right now. See, ultimately, patient care is very important. So patient care is influenced with the physician, doctors, insurance companies, pharmaceutical industry, and hospital. So these four are the key players for patient care. Suppose we are working as a clinical trial analyst or clinical data analyst. We are working mostly like a pharmaceutical industry. In this pharmaceutical industry, we are developing a new drugs or new therapies, which is for the benefit of patient care. So now, say target selection, target validation, See, that is how much time it will take. It will take like 2 to 4 years. Proof of concept in clinical trials, preclinical studies. Once the preclinical is done, then we are going to go with like phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and phase 3 studies. It will take definitely at least like 4 to 7 years. It's a process. Suppose, for example, now you can see 7 years is the maximum here. Here is the 4 years, 7 plus 4, 11 years. So when a drug is comes to the market, it has a lot of effort is required in laboratories, and also like different phases of clinical trials, drug development, etc. Once successfully pass all these phases, then we are going to submit a NDA, new drug application. Once the drug is got approved, then we are going with the phase 4 studies for long-term marketing, introduction, etc. Everything. This is a drug discovery process. I told you, like, IND. IND means investigational new drug. NDA, new drug application. So once drug approval, then we are going to go with even phase 4 also. It's a continuous process. Continuous. Now you can see here different phases of clinical trials. People are asking in interviews, hey, can you please tell me what type of phases you worked on this? What are the different phases of clinical trials? So now, clinical trial industry is primarily concerned with bringing new drugs, devices, or therapies to the general population. The drug and device development process. The United States, the most clinical trials are funded by pharmaceutical companies like Bayer, Pfizer, BMS, these companies wanting to bring a new treatment to market, or by National Institute of Health, which funds research to improve the health of all Americans. Because the majority of clinical trials are conducted with the idea to bring new drug. Majority of clinical trials, we want to bring a new drug or device, medical devices to the market. See, we briefly look into the US Food and Drug Administration for the approval process. If you want to get more information, better you can check with the fda.gov website that contains a lot of valuable information. That's what I'm telling you. Whatever you are learning at college is education, it's knowledge. And you need to understand additional skills is required. Attitude is required. Attitudes is required. So that's the reason you need to get more information, more updated information. You will get it in fda.gov website. Drug approval process. FDA is charged with making sure that new drugs brought to market are both safe and effective. Suppose you are taking a medicine that should be safe and that should be effective. FDA helps to do with the same drug approval process can easily cost hundreds of millions of dollars and take a decade to or more to move drug from discovery to pharmacy medical shop nearer to you. There are several progressive levels of studies that are conducted a part of drug approval process. Drug approval. So FDA is the more important. Preclinical studies. What is preclinical studies? Preclinical studies also like, first we are taking experiment with mice. Second is if we got a positive results, then we are going with the rabbits, second level. The third level is like sometimes we are working with the monkeys and sometimes with the dogs. So once we got a positive results, up to that part is preclinical studies. So experiments with the animals. So once we got a positive, that means if the studies are promising, the drug makes user pursues investigational new drug, IND. We are going to apply an application that is known as IND. IND means investigational new drug. Once your IND got approved, then we are going to start with the human subjects. Before the IND, no, it's only for animals. Those studies are known as preclinical studies. So what is exactly phase 1? Phase 1 trials are the first in man. Before phase 1, preclinicals, only animals. Phase 1 is first in man. Studies with new drug in humans. These studies are usually carried out for a small sample of subjects. The idea to determine the safety of the drug with a small and usually healthy volunteer study population. See, usually healthy volunteer study population. Most of the studies, we are taking healthy people, volunteers, except 2 studies. Those two studies are oncology and HIV. We are going to take it. Right? Remaining all the people, we are taking healthy people. Now, phase 2 trials go beyond phase 1 studies in that they begin to explore effective of a drug. Phase 2 studies as larger. It may be like 100 to 200 patients, study populations than phase 1 studies. Aim to narrowing the drug dosage, how much dosage is required for the new medication. Safety is monitored at this study as well as safety is the very, very important. And phase 2 trials are generally conducted in the target study population. So that is the purpose of phase 2. But I know it's fast to remember everything, but of course, we are recording this session and we are going to share this session later stages with all the people, Then you need to read it. You need to get it. What is phase 2 study? The drug development process phase 2. What is phase 2 is going to do? Similarly, phase 3. Phase 3 is a large scale of clinical trials on populations, numbering in the hundreds to thousands of patients. These are all clinical trials that the drug maker runs with show the new drug is both safety and efficacy in the target study population. If you got a positive results, if the phase 3 trials are successful, they will form a keystone elements of NDA. NDA means new drug application. Then we are going to file application that is known as a new drug application. Okay, new drug application. Once the new drug application got approved, the drug is in market. See, post-marketing trials usually conducted to monitor the long-term safety of a new drug after the drug is already available to customers. Because phase 1, probably it will take like 10 to 30 people. Phase 2, it may be like 100 to 300 people. Phase 3, 1,000 to 3,000 people. Maximum up to phase 3, we are conducting experiments with a maximum of 4,000 people. But when the drug is in a market, millions of people are going to use that drug. And long-term usage, we want to identify those type of effects. For that case, phase 4 trials are continuous process. We want to monitor long-term safety of a new drug after the drug is already available to the customers, already available to the market. So this is what exactly phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Once the phase 3 is completed, then we are going to apply NDA. NDA full form is new drug application. Now devices. Devices means, for example, like class 1 devices, class 2 devices, class 3 devices. What is this? FDA is also in charge of regulating new medical devices. The device approval process at FDA varies based on the degree of risk inherent in the device. The degree of risk inherent. What is class 1 devices? Class 1 devices is nothing but elastic bandages and surgical instruments. Class 2 devices, that is like an infusion pump and motorized wheelchairs. Class 3 devices means replacement of heart valves and implantable defibrillators. See, that means the class 1 devices has less scrutiny and the class 3 has more scrutiny. Obviously, approval requirements for class 3 device is much higher than the class 1 device. So FDA is responsible for drugs as well as device also responsible for both. So sometimes you need to consider, suppose for example, if you are working with Edward Life Sciences, for example, Edward Life Sciences is the company pioneered for providing the heart valves. So they need to go with a lot of scrutiny with those things. Some companies, they are going to provide you elastic bandages, surgical instruments also. So that is also like, everything is approved by FDA, Food and Drug Administration, particularly in the US. Suppose when you are going to India, the ICMR, Indian Council of Medical Research, is giving the approvals. What exactly? Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. Access how well drug use procedure can be tolerated in humans, determine the reasonable dose or technique, estimate biological activity, effect, efficacy, so and so. Phase 3, effectiveness comparison to standard treatment or placebo. Long-term surveillance monitoring in phase 4. So these are all things, types of clinical trials. Generally, I told you 10 to 30 for phase 1, 100 to 300 for phase 2, 1,000 plus 1,000 to 3,000 is for phase 3. Phase 4 is varies because for marketing purposes, to compare the effectiveness of two therapies already available in the market or to study new uses of therapies, etc., everything. So these are all different phases of clinical trials, number of patients, number of participants. See here, this clinical trial process contains a lot of things: protocol development, volunteer recruitment, clinical conduct, monitoring, data management, clinical statistics or statistical programming, medical writing, and quality assurance. So clinical trials and drug development is not like a small piece. It's a big ocean. In this ocean, protocol development, how we can develop a protocol, and contract non-disclosure, informed consent, then volunteer recruitment, first subject, first visit, first subject, first visit, last subject, first visit, last subject, first visit, the recruitment is over. Then clinical conduct, how to manage the clinical trials, monitoring and data management. Mostly myself, I'm involving in two areas. One is with the data management side as well as statistical programming side, because these two is my areas. Sometimes, long time back, I worked with here also volunteer recruitment. So that means first subject, first visit, first subject, first visit, FSFV, to last subject, first visit, LSFV, last subject, first visit, last subject, last visit, treatment is over, last subject, last visit. Then after that, stat analysis, data management, database lock, etc., all these things. So as a statistics person having with the clinical knowledge, I am more involving in this recruitment process or data management. And this as a pharmacy graduate, you may be involving into medical writing, quality assurance, clinical statistics, and statistical programming side. So this is the big process. These are all the tasks involved in clinical trials. Now, while I told you what involved in clinical trials, see, IND, investigational new drug. Then after that, when the principal investigators curriculum, financial disclosure, informed consent, IRB, institutional review board approval. Once that is done, site enroll the patients, add study to NDA, new drug application. See, before clinical trial, before preclinical, clinical, we got positive results. Then we are going to file IND. Once IND got approved, these are all the different steps to come to. Finally, we are going to apply NDA. NDA means new drug application. So that is the whole process in clinical trial. Sometimes, conducting the clinical trials has a lot of advantages and some disadvantages also. Advantages always as well as disadvantages also. Now, advantages as well as disadvantages also. Having access to potentially more effective therapies than currently available, receiving quality medical care from leading physicians, all these things being closely monitored with possible negative effects. These are all the benefits. Sometimes very few risks also there. Patients may not receive a therapy under investigation, may receive placebo, inactive pill. So we are taking the patient. Sometimes they are getting active ingredient. Sometimes they are not getting active ingredient. Simply they are getting a placebo, active pill, sugar pill. So new therapy may not be more effective than standard, thoroughly tested therapy. So these are all disadvantages. Risks are there itself. So like this. See, site management, site systems, regulatory submissions, data collection, trial management, pharmacovigilance, financial management, and clinical program management. Everything is there. Everything is here itself. See, multiple sites. We have only single sites we are getting like this. But in clinical trials, we are conducting multiple sites. For example, COVID vaccine, we are conducting multiple sites, means across the globe we are conducted the trials. So clinical development process like this. This is the way we are going to conduct the clinical trials, particularly for multi-center studies. Now, there are multidisciplinary clinical trials. Clinical research team contains clinical investigators, site coordinator, pharmacologist, methodologist, biostatistician, SAS programmers, lab coordinators, reference of labs, project manager, clinical research manager as associate, regulatory affairs, clinical data management, clinical safety surveillance associate, information technology, ITIS personnel, trial pharmacist, clinical supply, auditor and compliance. See, this is not like a simple SAS programming job or biostatistician. It's a big process. You need to work with a different team of people. So that's the reason I told you multidisciplinary skills is required. Multidisciplinary skills. So for example, if you want to learn about, if you want to go as a statistical programmer, you need to know about SAS programming. You need to know other skills also that we are going to discuss a little bit later. Now, when you see this whole clinical trial process, subject and investigator is, for our knowledge, is like a doctor. Case report form like this. Samples are taken that go to laboratory, lab results. This is lab results. Then statistician is analyzing the data. Clinician is taking that part. Then we are going to apply NDA. NDA means new drug application. That is goes to regulatory authorities. So this is when you understand this diagram perfectly, you are able to understand the clinical trial process. Whole clinical trial process is this. Now, data management, biostatistics, programming, pharmacology, pharmacy and clinical trials. See, if you want to enter into clinical research area, you should familiar with data management side. You should get some knowledge in biostatistics, programming side also. Little bit about like pharmacy or clinical trials knowledge. If you have all this knowledge, then it's very easy for you to enter into corporate. Now, what is, suppose for example, when you are going with the clinical trials, interviews, what is protocol? What is investigator? What is sponsor? IRBs, institutional review board, informed consent. What is blinding, double blind, single blind, intervention groups, central group. What is randomization? What is placebo? Follow-up, prospective study, retrospective studies. See, these are all like different terminologies. We are going to use it in clinical trials areas. FDA regulates, Food and Drug Administration regulates patent clinical trials are funded in 21 CFR Part 11, 50, 54, 56, 312, 314. But most of the times I am involving more like 21 CFR Part 11, Code of Federal Regulations. That means electronic signatures, etc. everything. ICH guidelines. What is ICH? ICH means International Conference of Harmonization Guidelines for good clinical practice should follow in clinical trials. FDA publishes many guidelines and information sheets pertaining to the appropriate conduct of clinical trials. That's the reason I told you fda.gov website contains a lot of valuable information. Good clinical practices are the ethical and clinical standards for designing, conducting, analyzing, monitoring and reporting of clinical trials. See, good clinical practices are ethical and clinical standards for design, conduct, analyzing, monitoring, and finally, we need to report on clinical trials. All these things is required for sure. For sure. That's the reason how we are designing a study. Some statistics knowledge is required. How we are conducting a study. How we want to analyze. Analyze means statistical analysis is required. How we want to report in clinical trials. Some programming knowledge is required for reporting clinical trials. That is the reason I'm telling you, you need to, if you, as a pharmacy graduate, if you want to go to clinical trials area, you should learn with SAS programming. You should familiar with a little bit about statistics. Suppose a statistics person wants to come to as a data analyst or data scientist, that area in pharmaceutical companies, you should familiarize with what is metabolism, what is toxicology, when this adverse event is going to become like a serious adverse event, something like that. These are all required. Business is required. Now, 21 CFR Part 11, ICH guidelines, ICH.org, International Conference of Harmonization. They have like a lot of documentation. 21 CFR Part 11 is for electronic records and signatures. 21 CFR 50 is for 50 federal regulations is protection of human rights. See, 21 CFR 50 is protection of human rights. 54 is for financial disclosure by clinical investigators. 56 is for institutional review boards. 3112 is IND, investigation of a new drug application. 314 is for FDA approval to market new drug. See, like this, these are all, of course, most of the times I told you, like I am involving in this 11. Suppose if you are a pharmacist, if you are a medical writer, investigator, you are involving in certain areas, protection of human rights or in institutional review board, etc., everything. But these are all, everything is available in online with all the documents. But one thing is you should familiarize with what is what. That's important. Next, what is ICH? International Conference of Harmonization. International Conference of Harmonization. What is this one? Is a non-profit group that works with the pharmaceutical regulatory authorities in the US, Europe, and Japan. US, Europe, and Japan to develop common regulatory guidance for all three. The goal of ICH to determine a common set of regulations so that the pharmaceutical regulatory applications in one country can also be used with another. Over the time, Food and Drug Administration usually adopt the guidelines developed by ICH, International Conference of Harmonization. So you can watch the development and guidelines at this ICH to see what FDA requirements may be forthcoming. So you need to follow this ICH guidelines. ICH has so many guidelines, so much of documentation. E3 document, what is exactly E3 document? E3 document contains what type of reports is required, E3 describes in detail. Reporting goes into clinical study report for an FDA submission. This guidelines is the major importance. You are often required to generate tables, figures, case report tabulations, perhaps the clinical narrative support clinical study report that is called as CSR. CSR is the clinical study report. So that is for E3, structure and contents of CSR. CSR means clinical study report. Structure and contents of what type of reports we are going to generate. That is E3 document. Similarly, E9 document, statistical issues in the design. What type of issues are there here? Statistical issues in the design. Although most useful to the statistician, this guidance gives an excellent overview how to clinical trial should be conducted. Similarly, for E6 document, standard operating procedures, lot of things we are going to consider here itself. Now, so 551, the sponsor should utilize the appropriately qualified individuals to supervise the overall conduct of the trial, to handle the data, to verify the data, to conduct statistical analysis, and to prepare trial reports. Always see, the sponsor should utilize appropriately qualified individuals. What is qualified individuals word? You are all having a master's degree in statistics or bachelor's degree in pharmacy. You should contain some programming knowledge, SAS certification. That gives you are a qualified individual to supervise the overall conduct of the trial, so and etc. everything. If the data are transformed during the processing, it should always be possible to compare the original data and observations with the processor data. That is also very important. I told you like 21 CFR Part 11 is for electronic records, electronic signatures to the FDA. That is very important for a programming people. Now, In India, everybody knows about, like in India, this Indian Council of Medical Research, ICMR, is responsible, the apex body in India for the formulation, coordination, and promotion of biomedical research, is one of the oldest and medical research bodies in the world. ICMR is always attempted to address itself to growing demands of scientific advances in the biomedical research on one hand, and need to finding the practical solutions to health problems in the country. In other words, ICMR is the long way to from the days it has been known as IRFA, Council for Consensus of the Fact, so and so. So in India, the approval process, everything is monitored by ICMR, Indian Council of Medical Research. Generally, ICMR follows FDA guidelines. Generally, if FDA got approved one particular medicine, ICMR is taking that type of things, conducting some studies, and it is applicable to Indian population or not, something goes through. But responsible in India is ICMR. Now we are coming with like a statistical methodology. What type of methods we are going to apply in clinical trials? See, importance of statistical methodology. When you see this one, statistics, data interpretation, statistical inference, data collection, everything is there. Everything is we are going to using with the statistics. So without data, there is no results. Without data, there is no analysis. So we want to get a correct data. If you have more and more in data, your results are more accurate. So that means how we are collecting the data, how we are analyzing the data, what type of methodologies we are going to apply like this. See, this is a database. This database contains all the information, In this database, we are applying some statistical concepts, statistical methodology, and finally we are going to get a results. These results are like this. When you are seeing the data in a database, you cannot visualize it. When you are coming to the reports, you can see like it's a positive tendency or negative tendency, how it is goes through. Everything we are going to do that. For that case, a basic statistics knowledge is required. Basic statistics knowledge, I'm telling you. Now, somebody has raised their hands. Can you please send your questions to our WhatsApp numbers? So then definitely we are going to address all those questions. That's one thing. Okay. Now, see, importance of statistics in corporate industry. See, this type of diagrams helps you to like, without statistics, nobody is going to take a wise decision. Statistics plays vital role in taking quick and better decisions. So that means statistics knowledge is basic statistics. I'm not talking about like going advanced topics is not required. Very basic things is required, and you can apply those things. Using with your data, you can create multiple reports, converting massive amount of data into meaningful information by applying right statistical approach, converting massive amount of data into meaningful information. Those meaningful information is helps to take better decisions. For that case, how we want to convert the data into meaningful information? For that case, you should go with the right statistical approach. That's required. Right statistical approach. So interest is who is using these statistics. For example, agricultural status, analytics, banking, capital markets, casinos, communication, consumer goods, manufacturing, life sciences, insurance, hotels, higher education, healthcare, media and entertainment, oil and gas, primary to up to 12th education, public sector, retail, small and mid-sized businesses, everywhere they are going to use these statistics for taking better decisions. So what are the methods we are going to apply in this clinical research? What are the methods? So statistical methods in clinical research. For that case, statistical methods are commonly used in clinical research studies includes descriptive and inferential methods, regression modeling, and propensity scores. For example, here, confidence intervals, survival analysis, correlation analysis for covariates, logistic regression. More elaborately, we are going to use these concepts. See, introduction to statistics. These are all required. Common statistical methods in clinical research. Data collection techniques. Measures of location and dispersion like mean, median, mode, harmonic mean, geometric mean, and the dispersion means range, quartile deviation, mean deviation, standard deviation, etc. Concept of probability. testing of hypothesis, one-tiled and two-tiled test, null and alternate hypothesis. What is null hypothesis? The neutral or non-committal attitude of a statistician is nothing but null hypothesis. TF and chi-square tests and their applications in industry, skewness and kurtosis, covariance and correlation, linear regression and logistic regression, small and large sample tests, non-parametric tests, analysis of variance, ANOVA, separation of variation into meaningful components, randomization and sample size calculation. These are all common statistical methods in clinical research. That's the reason I'm telling you basic knowledge is good enough to get into this area. Basic knowledge, not go with like more advanced statistics is not required, but basic knowledge. But of course, I know pharmacy syllabus contains statistics. The statistics syllabus is enough to learn certain things. But statistics people, they don't have any pharmacy knowledge. So for that case, they need to learn a little bit about what is metabolism, etc. They need to learn something like this. Then what is exactly programming? What is SAS programming? What like this? When you open this SAS programming, SAS is the leader in analytics. Why we want, people are asking question, why we want to learn SAS? Why not S plus or SPSS or R, something like that? Always remember this, SAS is the leader in analytics. 40 plus years of analytics innovation. SAS has customers in 147 countries. SAS software installed more than 83,000 businesses, government and university sites. 92 of top 100 companies in 2018 Fortune Global list of SAS customers. So 2008 revenue is 3.27 billion. 2002 is almost close to 4 billion. See, R&D investment is 26%, which 26% of the revenue. Microsoft is spending only less than 10%. As of now, FDA reviewers use SAS software to analyze clinical trial data for drug approval process. So 100% pharma companies are using SAS for their clinical study reports. More than 2 million SAS position related analysts across the globe. So this is the reason. This is the reasons we want to learn SAS programming. See, like this, almost all the industries like banking, communication, education, government, everywhere they are using SAS software. See, I told you like 147 countries, 13,939 total employees, 83,000 businesses, etc. Everything here. So this is the company facts and financials. Check with those things. If you want to learn something, you need to get all the information. Then only it's possible. Otherwise, it's not good actually. If you want to learn anything, if you want to learn SAS software, spend some time, go to SAS.com website and check those information. And also, if you want to learn SAS software, ask your faculty where he is working, what is his first name and last name. Suppose, for example, if you are considering me, my name is like, my first name is Venkat and my last name is Ikurthi. I told you right away, Venkat Ikurthi. You can check and go to Google and just type it Venkat Ikurthi. You will get a lot of information about myself. Similarly, when you want to learn the software, first spend some time with the software in their website and go to the job market. Is the positions are available or not? That's the second thing is. And who is the faculty? What is his experience, where he is working. So those things is very, very important to get into a right decision. So now importance of certification. I told you like importance of certification means certification always advantage. If you got your B Pharmacy degree, for example, or JNTU, Kakinada, or some university is giving the certificate, then only that has valid. Otherwise, just learning pharmacy subject doesn't make any sense. So now like this. If you want to get a certification, students, faculty, and staff may be eligible for 50% discount on examination fees. May be eligible. I know definitely in the US students, they are able to get 50% discount. But India, some universities are allowing that 50% discount, something like that. But 50% discount on examination fees. See, and recognition of your knowledge. Once you have a certification, and recognition of your knowledge, increase your value to the employer, enhance your credibility as a SAS professional, and get a digital badge you can share. So that means you are getting an emblem, SAS emblem, something like that. You are able to get these things. So there are a lot of advantages once you have a certification. Yeah, to date, we are up to date over 100,000 SAS credentials, credential to individuals in 121 different countries. So that means you are able to get SAS certification. You are 100,001 to something like that. SAS Global Certification Program includes credentials that validate SAS skills in programming, analytics, data science, administration, data management, and enterprise business intelligence. Today we have so and so like this. This is the certifications. So for example, SAS certified base programmer so and so. When I got my certification, when you see the date, 21st July 2008. 2008. Now it is 2023, almost like 15 years back, we got this certification. And you can go to this on support.sas.com certify community directory from HTML. You click this link, you will find my name also. I am a SAS certified for both base and advanced certified. So definitely having with certification, I don't want to say you are able to get a job, but you are able to get a interview. I'm very positive you are able to get an interview. These are all the symbols you are able to get it. SAS based programmer, SAS 9 and advanced certified. Once you have these symbols in your resume, the chances of getting the interviews are very high, very high. So this is the pretty much is like my presentation about these clinical trials and everything. Thanks for all of you listening this session. Then I'm going to start with the question and answer sessions actually. Any questions?